Hello and welcome to the Back Garden Garage, where I am carrying out a restoration on my BMW E30. Now, to date I have repaired a few sections of the car already and got them in epoxy, and as you can see the car is on a rotisserie which I built myself to make life a bit easier, especially on my back, to carry out these repairs. Now, if that is something that you think you'll be interested in looking at in the future, then please subscribe to the channel. And if you like what you see, give me a like at the end of it. So I am moving on to the section of car that would be hidden by the fuel tank. Now in here we have got lots of scabby areas, lots of bits of corrosion, a few holes that I need to deal with. So I think the first thing I need to tackle is the cleanup. Now I have already, as you might be able to see, got a lot of the undersill already off of the car. Now I believe a lot of it will clean up and I can just do a bit of rust treatment, but there are definitely some areas that need to be cut out and replaced with new metal. So if you have watched any of my older videos, you will know that I like to use the multi-tool to remove the undersill off the bottom of the car, ready for any repair work, and then just finish it up with a wire brush. If you haven't watched my videos before, then I like to use a multi-tool to take off the majority of the undersill and finish it off with a wire brush. Now, these areas, although I have used those methods to clean up as much as I can, there are some areas that are a bit tricky to get in there with the tools. So I'm going to try something a little bit new on these areas, and we'll see how the outcome turns out. Now, if you have seen the thumbnail, I am of course talking about shot blasting. Now I've got two different styles here that I can use, although I'm using the same compressor for both, but we'll see just how well that they work. Now the first one, I have just a little handheld unit that should get into the little areas, and we'll see how well that cleans up. And if that fails, I have a much bigger unit, like a pressurized pot blaster, to try, and we'll see just how effective that is if I need it. Now I do have a little shot blasting cabinet that I've got aluminium oxide in there. Now I don't want to use that. I want to keep the cabinet as it is, and it just recycles its own stuff. And I also don't want to be using sand because if you ask anybody on the internet, the sand is definitely not what you should be using for sandblasting. Now I have two bags of this stuff. Now I do not know if it is the right stuff or the wrong stuff, but it says it's for shot blasting, so I'm going to give it a go. So I did briefly mention the compressor, and that is going to be the weak link in this whole setup. It's the most powerful one I can get on the electric supply that I've got in the garage. So if I need more, it's tough basically, because that is all I can cope with. I do have some gas, old used gas canisters, which I extend the capacity on the tank, but we'll just see how it goes. I think we'll be all right for just doing small little areas at a time. I'm setting it at 90 psi. So let's get this little tub filled up with some shot, get some gloves and goggles on, and we will find out just how capable this little gun is. So long story short, this one didn't work. I think the media that I'm using is a little bit too heavy. I think this might be designed more for like soda. I'll give it a go if I get some at a later stage. But yeah, I spent a lot of time mucking around with it. It just doesn't pick up very well. So I am gonna put this one aside and get the bad boy set up and ready to use. So that was over with rather quickly. A quick spurt, and then that was it. That's all she wrote. Now, this sandblaster I bought new. I didn't, in hindsight I should have, check inside all of the the boxes, sort of the hose work, the valves. I didn't strip it down to rebuild it again. And that's bit me a little bit, because I found things like there's loads of leftover PTFE tape blocking the pipework and the valves. The screw, no idea where it was come from, just randomly inside there. So yeah, not a great start. So if you are looking at getting one of these cheap sandblasters, you definitely want to check inside the components before you start using it. That being said, I believe I have got the stuff out, or without draining the shot out, I believe I've got everything out. So I'm going to give it another go, get it set up, and see just how well it tackles this little patch of rust. Well, that absolutely destroyed that little bit of rust. That was brilliant. That was mesmerising to watch. Now, little bit of a problem is I was just using like a face shield and mask. It's not enough. I need a proper sort of outfit, I think, because it's a bit brutal. So I'm going to put that on pause for the time being, and I'm going to tackle some of the areas that I can fix without needing the use of this shot blaster. So with the shot blasting on the back burner for just the time being, I am going to tackle some brackets on the bottom of the car. Now the floor is corroded, it's too far pitted. It is going to need the floor section replacing. And yeah, I think it's just a case of cut out the floor, remove the brackets, clean up the brackets in the shot blaster, replace the floor, put them back on. That's what I'm hoping. Now the location of these aren't vital as long as they're close enough. They are to support the brake pipes and brake hoses. Now I need to remake all of the brake pipes, so if this a few millimeters out, it's not going to make a difference. I can make it to fit. So let's get cutting out some of this metal and yeah, get replacing it. So lucky for me, these couple of areas I'm going to do now are just nice flat bits of metal. So there isn't much to them. I can just get them cut out, and then I can just use that shape of metal that I've cut as the template. There's no need to make it any more complicated than that. I absolutely love the metal shear. It's a brilliant tool, saves so much time and a lot cleaner cut at the end of it. Now I'm just using a magnet to stick it in place. This will help keep the metal flush. And then I just take my time just making sure everything is flush on this metal, because once you weld it in, ideally you want it nice and smooth finish. And then I go around and just tack it, and I keep checking, making sure that it remains flush during the process before each tack. And then where it doesn't line up perfectly, I just get some tools. In this case, I'll use a pick and just bend the metal into shape. And yeah, when it's flush, tack it in and work all the way around. Some tacks are a little bit trickier than others. But when that's all said and done, I will then go around with a hammer and dolly. I'm holding a dolly on the back side that you can't see here. But yeah, I just tap it all flat, all flush, and yeah, that should take out any discrepancies in the level, and then I just go around and just weld the piece in. Now it's time to grind all those welds down. Now I'm not looking for a completely flush, invisible finish, especially in an area of car that I'm never going to see again. So I am just looking to clean up the majority of it so that it's somewhat presentable. And now onto the bracket itself. It is in usable condition, and I'm just going to use the finger sander that I've got. It's a fantastic little tool this is. I find I'm using it all of the time. And I'm just grinding through the spot welds until it is almost through to the other side, and then it will easily just peel away from the bracket itself. And yeah, exposing the rust that lies underneath. With that nicely cleaned up in the little shop blaster, it's just a case of getting it welded back on the car. Yeah, and job is done. So that is another bracket down. Now I probably made it overcomplicated by putting on the weld through primer first and then taking it off and putting the rust converter epoxy primer over the top. But yeah, it's done. It is what it is. And yeah, that is complete, ready for the final epoxy afterwards. Now I need to do another bracket. It's going to be exactly the same process, so there's no point in showing you that one. So I will get that smashed out, and then we will look at another bracket which has got a broken bolt in it. So with that bracket smashed out, I did change the process slightly. I put rust converter on the bracket itself and let that set before welding it onto the car. Yeah, just a slightly different way of doing it basically, instead of spraying the new metal with rust converter, because there's no rust in that. So this bracket here, this one holds a T-piece to allow for the brake pipes to divert from left to right wheels up to the front. But yeah, it's got a broken bolt in there, so I need to get that one out. I'm probably just going to soak it first off with some penetrant, and we'll see how we get on with that. So this was wishful thinking. I did give it a good go. I cleaned it up and soaked it and cleaned it and soaked it. But yeah, it was never going to happen. So there's only one real answer to actually get this thing removed. Well, that was much easier than expected. Came out really easily with a bit of heat. So I was expecting to have to cut it off, make a new one, and start all over again. But yeah, fantastic. Now, there is a slight bit of pitting on there. I could probably clean it up with a wire wheel. But I've got a shot blaster now, so when I do crack it back out, then I'm going to go over it and get rid of that last little bit of pitting, probably a bit of rust converter, just to nip it in the bud now. So, I have a stud up here that needs replacing. I'm just going to cut it off and put a screw in place of it, like I've done previously. So that should be a nice, quick and easy fix. Then I'm going to move on to some more metal work underneath the brackets down the bottom. But yeah, I'll get you in a bit closer to look at that. Okay, so another bracket to fix, and this time, yeah, it's definitely going to need the metal work done behind it, because just cleaning it up managed to put a hole through the rust. So I need to fix the metal behind it. I also need to make sure that this bracket is in the same location when it goes back on, because this holds the fuel tank on, and there's not a lot of room for give for the bolt holes. So yeah, that has to be right. So I need to make sure it goes on exactly where it is and replace the metalwork. Now the metal itself is shaped. It's got contours to it, and yeah, it's not a flat piece of metal like those other brackets were. So I'm going to need to shape the metal before welding it in. Very basic shape, shouldn't add any extra time to it really, but yeah, it's just another step in the process of getting this done. So what I think I'm going to do first is take some measurements. Do you know what? I got a better idea. Bear with me, just one moment. Now this is wood. More importantly, scrap wood. And I have just made up a really basic jig that will bolt into this top bolt hole on the fuel tank, because that I haven't moved at all. Then it will sit flat against the back wall here, and then another bolt in the bracket of the one I'm going to remove. So that is my measurement. So when I cut this off, if I put the bracket in the wood, in the bolt hole, put it in, tack the edge, it's going to be in the right place. So yeah, quick, easy, and sorted. So I won't waffle too much with this one. The process starts off the same as the last piece that I made, just with the addition of having to shape it. But that you will see is very self-explanatory on how I do it. So just, yeah, watch along and enjoy. So I'm happy how that little bit has turned out. Now it's a very basic shape, no specialist tools needed or anything like that. Just a simple hammer and a little bit of fettling. Now I did cut this purposely too big because I need to bend it. When you bend it, it kind of resizes the metal slightly as well. So I've held that in place and then got someone on the inside of the car just to draw me some cut off lines. I will get it trimmed down and welded in. We can move on to refitting that bracket. Okay, so I've even impressed myself with this one. The welds, in my opinion anyway, they look great. They look fantastic. I'm getting plenty of penetration. It is night and day difference from when I started this project. The amount of practice I've put in, and it's actually starting to show in the results. So yeah, I'm over the moon with that. Unfortunately, they're not going to be seen for much longer because I am going to grind them all back now until they are almost smooth, just like I've done with the other sections that I've welded in. And then I can look at prepping the metal, weld through primer, and try and get this fuel tank bracket back in its location, in the right spot, ready to move on to the next little section of repair. So I have my bracket here and my jig set up ready. Now the bracket I did run through the little shot blaster cabinet and cleaned up all the rust, mainly on the inside, and I have prepped it and treated it. Now I just need to bolt it on to this jig that I previously made in the bolt hole, which will give me my alignment, and then line it up and I can get it tacked on. Now that is solid as a rock. That ain't gonna fall off anytime soon. I certainly hope not anyway. Now obviously I don't have a fuel tank. I say obviously, but I don't have a fuel tank to put in place. So it's in storage at the moment. But with the jig set up, I am confident that is going to be in the right place. Just one thing to note as well with the brackets, I am just attaching them down the edges, welding them on rather than spot welding like they would do from the factory. Strength wise makes no difference, it's just not factory finish, but I'm not really that worried about that level of detail when putting this back together. So yeah, that is good. Whew, I've done a fair bit, haven't I? So I think in this, if I had a watch that told me how long this video was, then I think it's probably gone on for long enough this time round. If you prefer to see a longer format of the video completing this section, just let me know if you prefer to see the one longer video. But I think I'm going to call it a job well done for today and finish this off in the next video, where I'm going to get the shot blaster out to finish those areas, but I'm going to have to build a shelter to contain all of the blast off, all the media, because it makes a hell of a mess. So if you've liked what you've seen, give me a like, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and yeah, see me next time when I crack the shot blaster back out and finish off this little section. See you next time.